Okay. Hello. Thank you everyone for joining me today. I hope you're able to hear me. We're on the first, I think the third or fourth session of the first day of the Honours Festival that we're running here in the Honours team at the Cabinet Office. I'm Nikki Daniels. I am the Head of Operations in the Honours team at the Cabinet Office. I oversee the public nominations and the Honours process for delivering the two honours lists a year, the New Year's honours list and the birthday honours list, which I imagine some of you will have seen in the press just a couple of weeks ago. So this session is an opportunity to hear from 5 incredible recent honours recipients who through their work have all had a positive impact in their communities and their sectors. It's a chance for you to find out a bit more about the types of people that are awarded honours throughout the UK and the kind of work which can sometimes lead up to someone being nominated for an award. As you will know, no one recipient is the same, but those who do receive awards will typically have made a significant contribution to their sector or community, gone above and beyond expectations, and have had a positive impact on society. So those joining us today are all fantastic examples of people who have just done that. So my intention is, or I hope that the event will encourage people like yourself to think about nominating someone they know who is deserving for an honour, and I will end today's talk with some next steps to help you do so. Hopefully there will be time for a short Q&A at the end of the panel, where those watching can put questions to the panel. So I'm going to start by inviting each of our guest speakers to join me one by one. So they can tell us a bit about the honour that they've been awarded, and I've got a couple of questions that I will be asking them as well. So first up is Olivia Strong, MBE. There she is, wonderful. Olivia, could I ask you to introduce yourself and give us a bit of background about the reason why you were awarded your MBE, please?
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm sorry if my internet's a bit unstable. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
It keeps cutting out slightly. Okay, that's over. Yeah, my name is Olivia Strong. I'm the founder of Run for Heroes, which was a viral fundraising campaign during the first national lockdown that asked people to run 5K, donate £5, and nominate 5 others to do the same. It took off on social media. You might have been nominated for it. And it went on to raise around £8 million for the NHS Charities Together. On the back of that, we set it up as a charity and have been continuing to raise money for different charities and causes throughout the UK. And it's gone on to raise another 170,000 so far. So hopefully that will continue.
Oh, you're back. Sorry, I think we're having a couple of... That's all right. I think we're having a couple of technical issues here. What was the original fundraising target that you'd set up for yourself?
I wanted to raise £5,000, run 5K to raise 5K. And 4 days into the challenge, we had reached the £5,000. And a month in, we had reached £5 million. And it continued to grow and grow. And then with gift aid, yes, it's close to actually £10 million with gift aid. But it went viral throughout other countries and raised money for the Red Cross and other causes. So we don't really know the full extent to how much that kind of simple idea took off.
Wow. And I expect that you never thought that you would raise quite so much as you did. What inspired you in the first instance to set up Run for Heroes? Was it just literally wanting to raise some money?
Yeah, I'd been, as lots of people were at the time, my work had been cut to a 2-day week. as a freelancer. I am a freelancer. And I started seeing all these people on kind of on BBC News and things doing fundraisers. And during other kind of crises that happened previously, since I've been young, I've wanted to raise money. So I was like, I'm going to go out on a run, and went around. I don't know if people know it, in Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, and went on a run around it. And when I got halfway up, I noticed it was like pouring with rain, and all these other people were out running. And I was like, well, I guess there's nothing else that we could do. You know, we got a 30-minute window to be outside and do exercise. Everybody was using this. And it was 5 days into lockdown, and I just thought, well, what if each of these people donated £5 to go on their run? And kind of like similar to a marathon principle or a running event. And I got home, and with help of friend and family, came up with the name Run for Heroes, and kind of thought, well, we could run 5K and donate £5. And then my brother came up with nominate 5 people, pushed it out to social. Incredible.
Brilliant. No, brilliant. Can I ask you about how did you find out that you'd been awarded an honour? Did you was it an email from us at that time, or was it by letter? And how did you react?
Yeah, it was an email, and I thought it was a stitch from like my friends, or I wasn't sure, because I was like, I'm so confused. I had no idea that, this could be an opportunity, or like be ever given this, because at the time when I was doing it, we were working, me and the other 2 girls that worked on the campaign, working like round the clock, like, trying to push it out to as many people, doing press interviews, doing all these things to try and get it into more pockets. And the reason for doing it was because we wanted to raise the most amount of money for the NHS workers that were working so hard. So I'd never expected to be like rewarded for that. And then to get that email, I was like, oh, it's a real like pinch me moment, because I guess it's giving an award to, you never expect to be awarded for something that you feel so passionately about. So to be given that was an incredible opportunity, and it made me and my family and the girls that were doing Run for Heroes, incredibly proud. So brilliant. That was an email.
Was it?
I remember well.
Did you find it difficult to keep it to yourself for? It's usually a month or 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, it was I say that to everybody, like the hardest secret to keep ever. And you just want to go and tell everybody and share the news. I really wanted to tell my granddad, because I knew he'd be so proud. But yeah, then it was incredible though, because then it came out by the press, and you guys put lots of PR into it and things, and that was a really lovely way to then share it to not only friends and family, but the Run for Heroes community, because yes, this was an idea that I'd come up with, but ultimately, if it wasn't for the community and the UK public going out, running, donating, nominating, it would have never been able to raise the amount of money that it did. So I always said it was like an MBE for everybody. If I could break up it, I would give it to all the runners.
Carve it all up into different pieces. But so what's next? What's in the pipeline then? Is there, for Run for Heroes and yourself, is there, are you upping the game? Are you doing, longer runs or any more fundraising?
Yeah, so we, we had this engaged following on social. We had this community of around like 50,000 plus people, because altogether 1.5 million people took part in the campaign. And then the follow-up campaigns that we did, it was kind of a large community, and then people that wanted to give more to charity. We set up Run for Your charity, raising money for health and well-being causes, whilst trying to encourage mass participation in sport, whether that be running, cycling, rowing, rolling, whatever best suits you. And we are now kind of, people are, which is so cool, like running a marathon or doing challenges for us. And it's a charity in itself now. So we get to decide what to fund. And the next step is is trying to decide the fundraising money that we made in 2021, kind of what that funds. And we've got a board of trustees, which is crazy. You know, I'd never thought that I'd be running a charity with trustees and things. So yeah, we just need to sit down in the next month or so and decide what initiatives we want to, you know, focus on in 2022.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's incredible. Thank you. And sharing your experience is remarkable. So thank you very much indeed. I am now going to ask...
Thank you for having me on, and thank you also for the award. It's great.
No problem. Thank you. So can I ask Darren now to join me? Brilliant. Hi, Darren. Can you hear okay?
Hi, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. No problem. Can I just ask you to do a quick introduction of yourself and the reason why you awarded your MBE? Please?
Yeah, my name's Darren. My pronouns are he, him. And I guess I was awarded the MBE for my work in equality and diversity. So I've been working in the field of equality and diversity for the last 17 years now. And the mainstay of that, I set up, helped found and run the Bristol Pride Festival here. So I've been doing that for the last 13 years now. So yeah, just doing lots of qualities work within the Bristol and the wider region, you know, specifically obviously on the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community, the LGBT plus community. And my award was specifically for work within the LGBT plus equalities work field.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think you've said that you've been running Bristol Pride for over 10 years now. What are you most proud of achieving during that time, if I can ask you
that? That's a tough question. I think just getting through any year with the festival is an achievement. You know, it's an incredible amount of hard work, and I kind of echo what Olivia was saying. You know, if I could break it up and share it with people, I would do, because we have over 250 volunteers that now get involved with making Bristol Pride happen, and you know, it couldn't happen without those volunteers that get involved and support the community in the events. So yeah, it really is something that is kind of shared with our community. But I think, you know, it's, yeah, getting to where we are, I think probably the biggest achievement for me was the 2019 festival. You know, we worked so hard to be able to move the festival to a new site. We doubled our capacity for the festival, and 40,000 people attended the event in 2019, with 18,000 people on our parade march, and that filled the whole of the route. If people know Bristol, it was through the whole city centre, and for the whole of the length of the parade, it was full. So it was just an incredible achievement to see, and to see all the people coming to celebrate and waving their flags, and just being able to be themselves and, you know, live authentically, just even if it's just for one day, and take that with them for the rest of the year. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. And I think I'm right in saying that you've worked to keep Bristol Pride free of charge. Why has that been important to you?
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the key things we do to make sure the festival is donation entry. And I think probably that's where we just get through it every year goal comes from, because, you know, obviously these events cost money, and especially within the last couple of years, we're all seeing the cost of living pinch, and that's affected events quite a lot, actually, in terms of how we pay for infrastructure and costs, and all the transport costs we're hearing about affects everyone, right through to our contractors and us as the festival. But for me, you know, I don't want anyone to feel excluded from Pride just because they can't afford the ticket price. When I was younger, you know, going back many years, you know, I lived in quite a rural area just outside of London, and you know, I felt really isolated and alone. You know, not to use the quote, but, you know, I really felt like I was the only gay in the village, and yeah, that really affected my mental health and well-being. But I had some friends who said, you know, we're gonna go to Brighton Pride. Why don't you come along? And They went out their way to come and pick me up, drive me there, because I wouldn't have been able to afford to get there really otherwise. And just going there, the event was free to go into at the time. And I just realized there was a whole massive community out there. There were so many people just like me. So just being able to see myself reflected back and realize that there was a lot of support, there's a whole big community out there, meant so much to me. And I genuinely think the Pride then saved my life. So I hold that with me every year and think about the young people, and actually anyone actually coming out later in life as well, who might need Pride, but might not be able to go if there was a high ticket price. They couldn't ask for the money, they couldn't pay on a bank card, for example, if someone might see it. So yeah, that's why it's really important for us to make sure that everyone can come to Pride if they want to.
Brilliant. No, what does receiving an MBE mean to you then in the centre? I know you said you'd love to share it with everyone, but for yourself personally and your family?
Yeah, it's been just a great honor, really. And it's amazing to think about all the amazing people that do amazing things. Like when I went to my investiture, just meeting so many other people that have done incredible things, and I didn't feel a bit of imposter syndrome, because I just kind of feel like this is just my job. I'm just getting on with it, and I do this because I'm really passionate about it, and I'm just I almost selfishly, I want to create a better society for people, because that's the best society for me as well. So, but it was just, an incredible honor. I've actually just come from a wedding, because I was awarded the MBE during lockdown. So I've not really been able to celebrate with my family and share them. And I was able to take the medal to the wedding and show them. And my dad was so proud. And it just means a lot. And I think actually, hopefully will inspire. The whole event is to inspire others, to nominate others and think about it. And, sometimes we can think that it's like a thankless task, and often it is. We just do it, just get on with it. So when the thank yous do come around, it was overwhelming. Yeah. So.
Brilliant. No, thank you. Really inspirational, Darren. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Well, I'm going to come back to you all a bit later, and I'd love to hear about investitures. I know you've mentioned that you've been, so you'll be one of the people that I ask about that. So thank you for that, Darren. Now I'm going to ask our next recipient, who's Dr. Rashmi Becker, MBE. If she could join us. Hi, Rashmi.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us today and taking the time out to speak to us. Could I ask you to introduce yourself and again just give the reason for why you were awarded your MBE initially, please?
Sure. So I'm Rashmi Becker, and I'm the founder of Step Change Studios, which supports disabled people of all ages and abilities to participate in dance. We support people with sensory, physical, and mental disabilities. So for anyone, because we work a lot with people with sight impairments and who are blind, so for anyone that might not be able to see me, I am South Asian, female. I have long black hair, which is tied in a bun right now, and I am wearing a green top and seated in my home office living room.
Thank you. Thanks, Rashmi. So a couple of questions for you, if I may. So what was your motivation for setting up Step Change Studios?
There are a couple of motivations and inspirations. So firstly, I'm guardian to my disabled brother, older brother, who has autism, learning disabilities, and he has sight loss, and he lives in supported living, and he is non-verbal, so he has 24/7 support. And I've also worked in the care sector, and in parallel, I've always been super active. I've been competitive in sport and in dance and all sorts of different physical activities. And I've just strongly always believed in the power of sport and the arts to improve quality of life. And I have seen that. I've seen that in care settings, particularly with people with more severe disabilities, and just seeing the difference that dance, movement, and music can make to managing all sorts of things. So not just enjoying dance, but helping manage anxiety, building confidence, helping to build connections, creating a sense of community. Darren earlier was talking about social isolation. It can help bring people together. And it's something that's relatively easy to just make happen. And I had started off initially volunteering in places. So I was volunteering in sort of the odd care home. At Christmas time, I'd go into my brother's care home and run a little dance, or, just support tea dances and social dances. And I was finding that people were saying, for example, if I went into a care home for older people with dementia, and they were asking if I was coming back and if they could take part. And I just wasn't able to connect them with opportunities. And so I saw a grant, a very, very small grant being promoted, which is called the Dance Enterprise Ideas Fund. And they were looking for innovative ideas. And so I proposed setting up Step Change Studios, and that just started the whole journey. And, sometimes it's not so much about the money, because as I say, it was tiny. It's about having that belief and having, experts from the sector say, we like what you're suggesting. Was enough of a sort of push to make me feel, right, I can do this. And the rest is history. So.
Brilliant. And I can see that you really enjoy, and you talk passionately about your work. What do you enjoy most about the work that you do? Presumably seeing how people react to what you're putting in place, in a sense, and seeing them smile. And I imagine it's very satisfying in that sense. But what is it that you enjoy most about it?
It is that, and it's exactly that, because so many people that I meet, and it was the same story with my brother, people that are disabled are often told what they can't do rather than what they can. And parents, that have disabled kids, and when they're born with whether it's autism, learning disabilities, or all sorts of disabilities, are set very low expectations. And I just love it when people sort of go on that journey with us. So there's a lot of hesitation and nervousness on whether people sort of want to dance, but they're nervous, can they do it? And sometimes you have to really sort of offer that support and encouragement. And then it literally is within weeks, the transformation where people dance and you see them coming out their shell, and suddenly they're, you can support them to develop their potential. And seeing people that sometimes start almost just sitting in a chair and not wanting to get up and watching, to, most recently we had someone whose mum even, sort of felt, oh, I really don't think they'll come along and take part. And they went from taking part to coming in the top 3 of a dance competition to performing at the Heritage Flame Lighting Ceremony for the Paralympics. And it is so satisfying and so rewarding to see that impact. So that would be the number one thing, seeing the impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking about yourself now, and when you got the letter or the email, what was your reaction? And do you remember what you were doing at that particular moment in time? Or
I do, and I was a bit like Olivia, because I was actually on email clearing out spam, and the email was in there, and I saw it, and I was about to delete it, and sort of recognized the end. It looked legitimate from the email address, and so I called my husband in from the other room, and just said to him, "Is this for real?" And he straight away was sort of cheering, and because I've heard you ask the question about, was it hard to keep it quiet until it was published and made official? And it wasn't hard, because I still didn't believe it until it was published and made official. So it was a complete surprise, and obviously a wonderful surprise, but a complete surprise.
Brilliant. And how has being awarded an honour impacted on you, do you think?
Well, it's the same thing, because obviously it's amazing to be recognised for your work, but the reaction from everyone involved, because obviously, I can't do this on my own, and I have amazing, dance instructors, and we work with amazing families, and our students are so committed, and they just love dancing, and we have fantastic partners and charities and all sorts of organizations we work with, and their reaction was really, really lovely, because they were so happy and they were really excited. And it's it's a community, what I do and the people I work with, we feel like a community. So it felt like that whole community and all these people, were being recognized for being a part of something. So yeah, it feels good.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I know you've had your investiture, and I will ask you about that in after I've spoken to everyone. So thank you. Thanks once again, Rashmi, for your time. So wonderful. I'm going to move now on to Clegg Bamber, MBE. Brilliant. Hi, Clegg.
Hi, you all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Can I ask you to do the same, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you got your MBE, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Clegg, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Red Box Project. And we set up Red Box Project back in March 2017 with the ambition of ensuring that everyone could access their education and remove the barrier of period poverty. So period poverty was quite an issue in the UK, and it still is. And we set out to tackle it within schools on the premise that, as I say, no young person should miss out on their education due to having their period. We started out with the ambition of covering our home city, which was Portsmouth. And by 2019, we were in a position where we had over 6,000 schools supported across the UK, and also international projects too. So we had projects in New Zealand, the US, Canada, and Poland as well, which was absolutely bonkers, as well as the Channel Islands and the Isle of Man, the two crown dependencies as well. So yeah, it was crazy. And then we moved to a legal challenge. So we partnered with an organisation called Free Periods, and we brought a legal challenge to government against the Equalities Act. And secured government funding, or a policy change essentially, which now sees government provide funding for period products in primary, secondary and colleges across England. And with education being a devolved matter, Scotland had already introduced a scheme in 2018, I think it was. Wales in 2019, and England announced theirs in 2019 and launched in 2020, and Northern Ireland announced theirs in 2020 to start in 2021. So it was I guess a catalyst to see right across the UK.
Wow, absolutely. Rewinding back, can I just ask you, what was the reason that you and your co-founder set about setting it up in the first place?
Yeah, sure. So for us, we've been involved in a different organisation, and at the time we'd parted ways on that, but we're still friends. So we met up, and it was a news article from, I think it was BBC News, and it was a young girl that had gone to a teacher in a school in Leeds and said, "Miss, I can't afford period products. Is there any chance I can borrow one off you?" And to us, that was like, we knew about period poverty as an issue, but we didn't necessarily appreciate it as an issue here in the UK, but more associated it with the developing world. And as a result, we were like, well, we can't just sit and do nothing kind of thing. I mean, we could always, put a little bit of a a little bit of a moan on social media, but none of our followings are very significant, so it wouldn't have got anywhere. So what we decided, and that's what we decided to do. That's why we decided to set it up. And we were like, if that's one girl in one school in Leeds, it's unfortunately, as the case is with most aspects of poverty or suffering, it's never just the one person. It's just the one person that has been brave to speak up and tell their story. So actually, we were aware that, for example, Portsmouth had 30 plus schools, I can't remember off the top of my head, and colleges. And we were like, so if that's one person in every school in Portsmouth, that's 36 people, or 30 plus people, which is a whole class, essentially, and that's just in one city. And that was what inspired us, I guess, to move the motion forward to provide a solution that enabled young people to get access to period products.
Wow, and the rest is history, as we say. I mean, did you ever expect the project to grow as big as it has in your wildest dreams? No?
No. It was, as I say, we set it up in Portsmouth, the ambition of covering Portsmouth, and once word got out, social media is an incredible tool. Olivia alluded to it with her campaign and others as well.
Yeah.
Like, it has a lot of bad. It has a bit of a bad side to it at times, which we shouldn't overlook. But also, the power of social media is good, and it can come to effect really well. And that's what happened with us. So before we knew it, we had a little project that we started in Portsmouth. We had projects popping up in Southeast London, Brighton, Southampton, and even as far as Barrow-in-Furness, which I think was the furthest point at the time from Portsmouth, with a town. I think Carlisle was the only furthest place heading up towards the borders. So, and before we knew it, we had Scottish interest too, and Welsh and Northern Ireland. So, yeah, it just grew at a phenomenal rate, and it's something that we never ever anticipated happening. And it, as I say, over 2 years, it just exploded. And now I look back, and it's all a bit bonkers.
And how did you manage to bring so many people with you to get involved in it? That must have been quite a difficult task.
Yeah, it was, and we still, you still get the good old critic who's like, well, if people can afford smartphones or whatever, then why can't they afford period products? And I think for us, it was a case of authentic storytelling. It wasn't a case of we utilised the stats that were available. So 1 in 10 young people couldn't afford period products aged 14 to 21, I think it was in 2017. And that rose to 1 in 7 in the capital. And we also looked at the other sort of figures as well. So, for example, if a young person misses school every time they have their period, the average period's 3 to 4 days across 9 months, that adds up to about 6 weeks of missed school, and that's a half term. So to actually bring that to fruition when you've got exams, your GCSEs, and education is the foundation for your future. It does, it's not the be all and end all, but it gives you a very good start if it can. So for us, it was very much actually we needed to tell that story of how important education was, and that actually it wasn't fair for young people to be missing out on education due to period poverty.
Brilliant. And how does it feel to have an MBE after your name now? Like, it's got a great ring, Clegg Bamber MBE. You get great about it.
Yeah, no, it's pardon the pun, but it is an honour. It's something that I never thought would happen, and even now, it's odd seeing it there. Like I remember, I was at work when it got announced publicly, and everyone was like, "Oh, stick it after your name and your email signature," and I was like, "Oh, it'll be okay." And they're like, "No, you've earned it. Go for it." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So even now, it's still very strange to see it there, but yeah, it's a very proud honour to have. That's for sure.
Brilliant. And did you ever think that your work with the project would lead you to being awarded an honour? Was it?
No, and I think it's very similar to what the other panelists have said, really. Like, I didn't set out to do this, to achieve some award or anything like that. We did it, me, fellow co-founder, and the 600 plus volunteers around the UK that did it, where we did it because we cared and because we wanted to make the positive change and positive impact on people's lives. So when when I did get recognised, it was truly humbling. And yeah, it was something I'll never forget. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you. Another inspirational story. So thank you, Clegg, for giving up your time today to talk to us. Thank you. So our last panelist is Michelle. Michelle Nell. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Nikki.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Can I ask you to follow as everyone else and just say a few words about your honour and what you were awarded it for, please? Thank you.
So I'm Michelle Nell, and I started my charitable work because I was given an MBE for 2 areas. One was my community work over the last 40 years, and the other was for work I did to help people during the pandemic. So I have a lovely friend who's a midwife over in Wigan, and she came to me the one day and she said, "Michelle," this was about 2 weeks into the first lockdown, "I've got such bad ear pains because of all these elastics that go behind your ears. And I've got a couple of nurses and midwives who work with me who've got actually bleeding behind their ears because they were working, delivering babies in full PPE for 16 hours a day some days. So it was really a problem. And I said to her, no problem, I'll figure something out. So anyway, I went off to my sewing machine and I threw together some headbands and some scrunchies and sort of things that you could just hook them onto the ear elastics instead of around the back of your ears. And I sent off about 20 or 30 of these to her. And I said to her, just distribute them to your friends. Well, that was the start of an endless request for headbands. And so within a week, I had said to my husband, oh, I need to do something about this. You know, I'm really being nudged to get something going. So I started making it all by myself. And I spent hours and hours cutting out fabric, sewing on buttons. And when it got to a few hundred, I was like, I can't do this by myself. So I phoned a few friends and a sewing group people and people at our church. And I just said, I need help. Can you start sewing for me? And they said, yes. I provided them with bundles of fabric, which came out of my stash originally. And then I got it donated, got buttons donated, and all of these things. So I've set up a Facebook page. That didn't work quickly enough. So I phoned my son a week later and I said, I need a website. Fine, Mom, no problem. He's in Cape Town. Within a day, I had a website set up so you could order these things from anywhere in the country and you could tell me how many you needed, where they needed to go, and off they would go to the various areas. So now the problem was, how do you get this to all these people? So I had begged, borrowed, and stolen help from friends at this point. And John at our church said, I'm in a bike gang, you know, not a gang, but in a bike group. And they might be interested in helping because, like us, they were all locked down. They weren't allowed to go out on their bikes. April, if you remember, of that year was glorious and we were all stuck at home. And, well, I sent out an email to all of them and I had, within a few weeks, 90 bikers who came forward to volunteer their free services to deliver headbands. And it was absolutely incredible. By then I had over 100 sewers. I had a button sewing team and an admin team and a website and all of this. And we live in this old property with sash windows and I'm in a wheelchair. And I used to wheel myself over to the window with all these parcels, throw them down to the bikers outside my window, and off they would go. And I don't know what the neighbors thought was going on. But at one point, there were 6 or 8 Harley Davidsons parked outside the house. You know, I think maybe they thought there was a drug dealing thing going on or something. But anyway, we had an amazing time. And within 6 weeks, we delivered over 15,000 headbands and the different products to hospitals all the way up to Inverness in Scotland and down to Portsmouth. And we had relays going on and all of this stuff. So it was an incredible thing. And the positive feedback we got from people for doing just a tiny little thing was just wonderful.
Wow. I was going to ask you how many you've done to date, but you mentioned that you've done 15,000 in that short period. Presumably you did
Even
a lot more
now.
after that. Yeah.
So we continue to get orders in every now and again. I've wound it down very much, but I refuse to close it because if there's one more person I can help, I would like to do that. And so to date, we've sent over 25,000 of these out, which is like 50,000 buttons. And I don't even know how much fabric and sewing thread and all sorts. So it's great.
Wow. And if you had, what's the reaction been from the key workers that you've provided with them, presumably?
The ones that know us have been just so grateful. And I think the fact that word of mouth had got out there so quickly that we were helping and doing this for them has just been incredible. So we dropped them off at the doctor's offices, at the chemists, all of the places, Asda, all of the shops where people, so it stopped being just about the NHS, but being about anybody who was forced to wear a mask for any amount of time. And they were quite shocked in the beginning to see how big the need was. But honestly, it was just such a blessing to do the tiniest little thing for what people had been doing during the pandemic for us.
And I think you also run a couple of other groups, don't you? Handmade and
yes. So my passion is sewing. Well, one of my many passions is sewing, and I've been sewing apparently since I was like 2 years old, and most of it self-taught before YouTube, you young lot, and all of that. Everything had to be learned out of a book. And I've been sewing all sorts. I sewed my own wedding dress when I was 17 and things like that. So it's always been a huge passion of mine. And when it comes to teaching and passing on my gift, that's where I love being able to help others learn and take that skill forward, because a lot of schools now don't teach it at all. So youngsters don't know how to do this anymore. And so we've got people from the community in Wigan. I run this group, and we invite anybody in who needs to learn to sew. If they don't want to sew, if they just want to be there to speak to people, it's about helping isolated communities. So our group is like the international UN of sewing groups. We've got Farsi, Iranians, Iraqis, Afghans, Poles. I don't even remember. We have got so many diverse groups and in our little sewing group. And I love it because not only do we get to teach them about being British, but they get to teach us about their own cultures, which makes integration so much easier. And but really, it's mostly about keeping people from being isolated in their tiny little individual communities.
Yeah. Can I ask you, how did you feel when did you get a letter or was it an email? Did you? Yeah.
I got the email in as well, and I knew it was spam. Okay. I used to be in IT, and I'm sorry to say, I didn't believe a word of it. I went and I searched the email address. I looked up the person's name and all of the things that you would do if you were suspicious like I am. And so I found the person's name on the cabinet office, and then I was like, oh, maybe this is the fake cabinet office address, all of those usual things. And then I eventually thought, I better phone her. Her name was Michelle. Phoned her up, and she just laughed. She said, yeah, this is a problem we have all the time. I said, how am I supposed to believe that this is real? But she eventually convinced me, and between the correspondence and then getting mail, that helped me to realize. But it was, as the others have said, really just surreal, because none of us do this because we go into it for glory. We go into it because we have a passion and we see a need that needs fulfilling. And if it's not us that does it, who's going to do it? So you've got to step up, don't you? So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Michelle, for sharing your story with us again. And a really inspirational story. So thank you. I'd just like to thank each of our guest speakers once again for taking the time to join today's events. And I think you'll appreciate it's been great to hear each of their stories and experiences of receiving an honour and what it's meant to them and their families. I'm not going to let them go yet because I'd quite like to ask them just a couple of questions. Firstly, I think I'd quite like to ask, I know Darren and Olivia have said that, Ramesh has said that they've been for their investitures. I wonder if they wouldn't mind just joining us to give us a bit of an oversight of where they went, where they went for their investiture and just a brief rundown of what happened, if that's okay. Darren, did you want to start?
Yeah. So I went to Windsor Castle, and it was last year actually, and it was delayed because of the pandemic. So I think I was one of the few first investitures back after post-pandemic. So there were still some restrictions in place actually. So it wasn't, it was smaller groups, and we were moved through Windsor Castle in stages, and it was an incredible experience because I've never been to Windsor Castle anyway, and then to be able to go inside and to be in these beautiful rooms and see all of the beautiful tapestries and painting was just an experience in itself. But obviously then to share that room with, as I said, other inspirational people, and Mr. Motivator. I had Mr. Motivator in my group as well, which was just incredible. And so we kind of moved through, and then we're all lined up, ready, and it was, very precise. We had a little briefing, and Prince William gave me my medal. So we had the opportunity to kind of have a short conversation with him, and that was great, because he, it sounded like he'd really done his homework, and he asked me, how are we doing on LGBT rights, and I was able to kind of have a conversation with him that, things have gotten better, but there's still a lot to do. And, that I shared some concerns about the review of the Human Rights Act, for example, and things like that. So it was great to be able to kind of share that conversation with him, and realize that he actually, had really studied up and looked up at why I had the award, and was able to ask me some questions about it.
Brilliant. And who did you take with? Were you able to take someone at that point? I know you said it was.
I was allowed to take someone with me, so I took my partner Freddie with me. So yeah, it was great to kind of have that support there, because I was quite nervous. But yeah, it was a really nice day out, actually, and everyone was so complimentary, and I think everyone was. Even the staff there were asking, why have you got the award? What's it for? And I think, part of the reason for that, and why I would encourage people to nominate, I would be nominated for my work within the LGBT plus community. And I think, we still struggle with visibility, and we still struggle with those conversations about, we still have a lot of work to do to reach true equality, not, for a lot of people, not just the LGBT plus community. But yeah, it was great to kind of be there, and be openly gay, be proud, and to talk about why I'd achieved the award.
Brilliant. No, wonderful. Thank you, Darren. Rashmi, were you at Windsor as well? Were you?
Yes, I was. And it was quite recently. It was just a couple of months ago. And you were allowed to bring one person with you. So I brought my husband. I had a bit of a toss-up picking between my father and my husband, and the husband won out because he's here every day and putting up with everything that he has to do for me to be able to do the things I do. And it was just brilliant. Like Darren said, I think what I really appreciated was just how supportive and welcoming everyone was, literally from the policeman at the door through to the ushers and the staff, and every single person you passed made you feel really special. And you sort of feel this, there are quite a few of these ceremonies, but it just, people really took the time, and they really understood what this meant on a personal level, and I really appreciated that. And I really appreciated that the guests were treated so well as well, and it wasn't guests over here. We were together the whole time, and it was a shared experience. And it was the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, who awarded my MBE. And similarly, she was really engaged. I wasn't expecting a conversation. I thought it would be a formal handshake and off you go. So it was lovely to hear her thoughts on the power of dance and music. And she had an understanding of the impact. So that was just really lovely. And the whole day, to be in such an amazing place that, as a kid you'd visit as a tourist, and it was very, very special.
Oh, great. And can I ask you both, actually, where do you keep your MBEs? Are they pride of place in the house, or flat, or under lock and key somewhere?
Rashmi, do you want to go first?
Well, for a while it was sort of on a little mantelpiece, and now it's sort of I have a little sort of cupboard of different things that I've got over over the years, whether it's swimming certificates and running medals and things, and so it's with that. But I have a lovely frame photo as well from the occasion that sits on the mantelpiece.
Lovely. What about yours, Darren?
Yeah, mine's actually still on the mantelpiece. So yeah, I've kind of popped it up there. I was many years ago, I was fortunate enough to be awarded the Lord Mayor's Medal in Bristol. So I've got the two medals together. Yeah, so it's really nice, and it's a lovely talking point for friends to come around and when they see it. And my friends who know that I've got it really. They always ask to see it, and they just want to touch it. So it's on the mantelpiece, so people can have a look at it.
Wonderful, thank you. I wonder if we could just bring Clegg, Michelle and Olivia back in. I just have one question to ask them, and then we might have lost Olivia. Never mind. Clegg and Michelle. Hi, Bo. Sorry, I'm going to ask you a totally different question. I don't know if either of you been for your investitures, but I just wondered if you could just say something to those that are watching this today and are maybe considering nominating someone for an honour, just to encourage them and, sort of sum up how it's been for you as a recipient, if that's okay. Michelle, I don't know. Are you able just to say a few words? Thank you.
Absolutely. First of all, who would not want to receive one of these? So mine is in the safe, and I have the extra special little one my husband bought me for when I go out on special dinners. So you get these. Why would you not want one of these? Seriously. Okay, so I have been totally passionate about the Queen and all sorts of things royal. I was a princess the day I was born, apparently. And so it just, to me, I wrote a letter to the Queen on her, I think it must have been 77 when one of her big events was. And I got a reply from her. And I cannot tell you how much joy that brought me. And so I'm totally passionate about sending things and receiving something in return. And you know what? This is something totally not expected. I didn't know much about the process at all. In fact, I knew nothing about the process. I knew people got this award at New Year and during the summer holidays, and I had no clue what it was really about, having been born in South Africa. And even after 22 years here, it was quite a surprise to me to see, oh gosh, normal people are getting these awards. And maybe that's because over the years, more and more ordinary people doing great work have received the awards. And so I've noticed it a little bit more. But you know what? As I said earlier, none of us do this because we expect anything in return. And it's that type of person that it's so humbling to receive it. To me, it's not about anything I've done. I just was there at the right time for such a time as this. And I truly believe that you're placed in positions where you can help and impact others. And to do that is just an honor. And in return, when somebody just gives you a pat on the back or a quiet thank you, or like we often do, give them a gift card, buy them a coffee. But honestly, to receive an honor from the Queen, from somebody you don't know, is just remarkable, because they've taken time to notice what you've done. And not just what I've done, but what all the hundreds of people around me have done. And this honor is equally as much theirs as it is mine. So for all of that, I'm incredibly thankful and grateful. So go out there, that person who lives on your street that you see endlessly delivering groceries for their community, for their people, that midwife who's out delivering babies at every time of day and night, and the woman who's got postnatal depression that writes a book for her child to understand what that's like and things like that. They deserve honor. They really do. So please nominate them.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michelle. Clegg, I don't know if you've got any other thoughts.
Yeah, I think just to echo what Michelle has said, really, I think when you get notified of your nomination, it's really humbling. And actually it means so much that someone has recognized you in a way that they wouldn't normally say. So exactly what Michelle said. So you can say thank you over coffee, or you can acknowledge it in the street, kind of thing. But actually, for someone to go out of their way, submit the nomination, and then go through the process to be recognised, just takes it to another level. And it does really hit you, I guess, in the sense that what you're doing is making an impact, and it's making a really important a really important impact to people, just not in your local community, but whoever, but as Michelle said, if it's the community that you're delivering groceries to, it's so much more than just that initial sort of task of delivering. It's the fact that someone has recognized it as you going above and beyond. And you never see it as going above and beyond, but actually, as I say, just a final note, it again is really humbling to acknowledge that someone has noticed it more than just your everyday duty kind of thing.
Brilliant, thank you, and thanks to you all the guest speakers for joining us today to sharing their stories and experiences. Many congratulations to you all, and look forward to hearing and seeing what you do next, and maybe you might come back at a later stage for a higher honour. And thank you very much to the audience for taking the time today to join the session. I think we're almost out of time. I think we might have time for one or two questions if anyone has any. Other than that, we've got a couple of slides just to finish off with, which sort of explain a bit more about the process and how you can nominate. I wonder if we could just do those. Brilliant. Lovely. Okay, so hopefully this will inspire all of you watching to make some nominations. So a couple of things just to bear in mind very quickly. Make sure your nomination includes examples of how your nominee has made a significant contribution. So hopefully hearing from all 5 panelists will give you some inspiration as to what they've been doing, and maybe you can think about other people that you know that might be doing something similar in the community. We look for people who have gone above and beyond expectations, and obviously, like our panelists today, have made a positive impact on society. All nominations must be confidential, so please don't tell the person that you're nominating that you are. And further information can be found on our website, which is honours.cabinetoffice.gov.uk. And we've also got an email address, which is honours@cabinetoffice.gov.uk. It's all on gov.uk, so if you just go onto gov.uk and type in honours, there's a lot of information on there that you can follow up. And obviously, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, this is day 1 of the Honours Festival. We have got a couple more days to go with some really useful and exciting sessions, and they should be up on the screen now. So feel free to join any further sessions over the next couple of days. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today. I hope you found it as insightful and as inspirational as I have. So look forward to receiving nominations from you. Thank you.